I think my missing best friend has been running an internet mystery experiment on me for years, and I just found proof. Posted in r Unresolved Mysteries by you, _Cascadia, 14 hours ago. I need to write this down while I can still think straight. My hands are shaking, and I've been staring at my monitor for 6 hours, but I need other people to see this. To tell me I'm not insane. My name's irrelevant, but I'm a 28-year-old software developer in Seattle. For context, I've always been into internet mysteries, ARGs, Cicada 3301, Lake City Quiet Pills, all that stuff. It's been my hobby since college. My best friend Maya and I used to stay up until 4 a.m. dissecting cryptic posts and chasing digital breadcrumbs. She's the only person I know who gets as obsessed with this stuff as I do. 3 months ago, Maya moved to Boston for a senior dev position at a fintech startup. We kept in touch. Discord calls, the occasional text thread that spiraled into sharing weird Reddit posts at 2 a.m. Normal stuff. 2 weeks ago, she went dark. Not dramatically. Not with a cryptic goodbye message. She just stopped responding. Her last message to me was, "Holy shit, you need to see this thread. Sending link in a sec." That was April 23 at 11:47 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The link never came. I figured she got busy. New job, new city, maybe dating someone. But then I noticed her Discord status hadn't changed in days, stuck on online, with no actual activity. Her Instagram story views stopped. Her GitHub commits flatlined. Maya codes every single day. She's pathological about it. I called her roommate, Priya, who she found through some Boston tech workers Facebook group. "Oh, Maya's fine," Priya said, voice weirdly chipper. "Just really busy with work stuff. I'll tell her you called." But she wouldn't put Maya on the phone. When I pushed, she said Maya was out, but had just been here. When I called back an hour later, Priya didn't answer. I contacted her company. They said she'd taken a sudden leave of absence starting April 24, the day after her last message to me. Family emergency, they said. Except Maya's parents died in a car accident when she was 19, and she's an only child. I know because I drove with her to the funeral. That's when I started really digging. / the thread. I went through our Discord history, looking for anything that might explain what she wanted to show me. Our last conversation was about a weird website we'd found that cataloged dead internet spaces, forums that went silent mid-conversation, abandoned Discord servers, inactive subreddits that stopped posting for no clear reason. Digital ghost towns. That's when I remembered. Maya had mentioned something weeks earlier about a creepy USB mystery she'd found while browsing obscure forums at 3 a.m. I'd been half asleep and told her to send me the link in the morning. She never did. Or maybe she did and I missed it. I started searching. Variations of mysterious USB drive forum, creepy package internet mystery, surveillance footage USB. I went through pages of results, clicking on archived 4chan threads, old Reddit posts, web sleuths discussions. At 4 a.m., running on cold coffee and anxiety, I found it. A forum I'd never heard of before, Obscura Collective. It looked like it had been a small community for discussing internet mysteries, maybe 200 to 300 active users at its peak. The site was still online but clearly abandoned, no posts after June 2019. The thread was titled, "The D Project, has anyone else received one?" I put the character into Google Translate. It means, to hand over, or, to pass, or, to deliver. The thread was started by a user called voidwatcher_89 on March 15, 2019. Okay, this is genuinely freaking me out. 3 days ago I received a package at my apartment. No return address, just my name and address printed on a plain label. Inside was a USB drive in an anti-static bag. No note, no nothing. I probably shouldn't have plugged it in, but I'm an idiot. I ran it in a VM first at least. The drive had one file. A MP4 called delivery_confirmation.mp4. But the file was corrupted, wouldn't play in any media player. I used some recovery software and managed to extract about 40% of the video. What I got made my blood run cold. It's footage of my apartment. My living room, specifically. Shot from near the ceiling, like from a high shelf or mounted camera. The timestamp in the corner says it was filmed on February 23, 3 weeks before I received the package. But here's the thing. I was gone that entire week visiting my sister in Portland. The apartment should have been empty. But in the footage, you can see someone sitting on my couch. Just sitting there, facing away from the camera. For the full 2 minutes of recovered video, they don't move. Just sit there. I can't see their face. They're wearing a dark hoodie. But something about their posture, the way they're sitting. I have this horrible feeling I know who it is. But that's impossible. Greater than has anyone else experienced anything like this? The thread exploded. By the time it ended abruptly 47 pages later, there were dozens of people sharing eerily similar stories. Packages with USB drives. Corrupted footage of their own spaces. Timestamps from before they received the packages, sometimes weeks, sometimes months. The details varied, but the pattern was consistent. No return address. Corrupted video files that could be partially recovered. Footage showing the recipient's home. Sometimes the recipient appeared in the footage doing things they didn't remember doing. Sometimes strangers appeared in the footage. The timestamp was always from before the package arrived. I spent 6 hours reading through all 47 pages. The tone shifted from curiosity to genuine fear around page 23, when someone pointed out that 5 of the people who'd posted their experiences had stopped responding to the thread. Their accounts on other platforms had gone silent too. By page 35, people were trying to find patterns. IP addresses, geographic locations, who had received packages when. Someone created a map. The recipients were scattered across the US, but with weird clusters. 3 in the Seattle area, 5 in the Northeast, 4 in Colorado. On page 47, the thread just stops. Mid-conversation. A user called Signal Ghost was in the middle of posting coordinates they'd extracted from metadata in their footage when their post cuts off. Asterisk. Okay, so I pulled the EXIF data and ran it through a. That's it. Signal Ghost never posted again. Neither did anyone else in the thread. The whole forum went dark 2 days later. I checked the Wayback Machine. The forum had been archived regularly until June 2019, then nothing. Like someone took it offline deliberately. I made a list of every username in the thread and started searching for them on other platforms. Twitter, Reddit, Instagram, GitHub, anywhere I could think of. Dead end after dead end. Accounts abandoned. Trails gone cold. Then I found one. The username. Page 31, buried in a discussion about whether the packages were part of an ARG or something more sinister. Starship malfunction. This reminds me of that old creepypasta about the camera that takes pictures of you 1 week in the future. Except reversed? IDK, the whole thing feels orchestrated. Like someone's testing how we react to surveillance anxiety. Starship malfunction. My chest tightened. That username. I knew that username. In our sophomore year of college, Maya and I got really into old sci-fi. We'd stay up watching terrible B-movies from the 50s and 60s, making fun of the dialogue. One night we watched this movie where the starship's engineer keeps saying everything is a malfunction, even when it's clearly sabotage. It became our inside joke. When something went wrong, printer jammed, Wi-Fi down, forgot an assignment, one of us would say, "Starship malfunction," in a terrible Russian accent. Maya created a gaming alt with that username junior year. I'd recognize it anywhere. I read through all of Starship Malfunction's posts in the thread. There were 7 total, spread across different pages. Mostly her playing devil's advocate, suggesting rational explanations, asking technical questions about file corruption and metadata. Classic Maya, methodical, skeptical, probing for logical flaws. Her last post was on June 8, 2019. Greater than asterisk. I'm starting to think some of you are right. There's something coordinated about this. The geographic distribution isn't random. I've been plotting it and there's a clear pattern if you look at it temporally rather than spatially. It's like whoever is doing this is following specific people's movements over time. I'm going to compile some data and post it tomorrow. She never posted that data. The thread died the next day. 2019. 4 years ago. Maya never mentioned any of this to me. We told each other everything. Why would she keep this secret? I searched through our old messages from 2019, looking for any mention of mysterious packages or creepy USB drives. Nothing. In June 2019, according to our chat logs, she'd been stressed about summer internship applications and we'd been arguing about whether Blade Runner or Blade Runner 2049 * was better. Normal stuff. I checked her old social media posts from that time. Instagram photos of her cat, study sessions at the library, a hiking trip to Mount Rainier we took together. Nothing seemed off. But Maya was in that thread, using our inside joke as a username, posting about surveillance and patterns, then vanishing. The package. I'm not proud of what I did next, but I need you to understand my headspace. I hadn't slept properly in days. My boss had asked if I was doing okay, because I'd missed 2 stand-ups. I was consuming information like a machine, cross-referencing, data mining, building connection maps that probably looked insane. I started looking into the other usernames from the thread. Real detective work, OSINT, basically. Most led nowhere, but I got lucky with a few. Found real names, LinkedIn profiles, Facebook pages. Then I started finding obituaries. Void Watcher _89. The thread's creator was Tyler Morrison, died in a car accident in August 2019. Signal Ghost was probably Jennifer Huang, who disappeared in July 2019 and was found dead in her apartment 2 weeks later. Carbon monoxide leak, they said. 3 others I could identify had either died or disappeared in the months following the thread going dark. I made a spreadsheet. I know how that sounds, but I needed to see the pattern clearly. Names, dates, causes of death or disappearance, their last known locations. That's when I noticed something that made my mouth go dry. One of the users, cosmic_static_217, was named Daniel Ferrara. The name sounded familiar, so I dug into his profile. He'd mentioned in one post that he was from the Colorado college town that's not Boulder. Fort Collins. We'd done a summer coding bootcamp in Fort Collins the summer after sophomore year. It was this intense 8-week program, and there had been a guy named Daniel in our cohort. Quiet guy, really into cybersecurity. I barely remembered him, but I found the cohort photo from the program website. There he was, Daniel Ferrara, standing in the back row. Maya and I were in the middle, making stupid faces at the camera. Daniel had posted in the thread. Then he disappeared. I went back through the list with fresh eyes, searching for any other names that might connect to our past. It took hours, but I found 2 more. Red Eye Flyer _88 was Marcus Webb, Maya's ex-boyfriend from junior year. They dated for 4 months before she broke it off because he got too intense about tracking her location through Find My Friends. I'd only met him twice, and both times he'd given me weird vibes. According to his Facebook memorial page, Marcus died by suicide in September 2019. And system failure _404? I couldn't get a real name, but their posting history mentioned being in RAW at a PNW University in 2017-2018. We'd gone to University of Washington. Our RAW sophomore year was this guy named. What was his name? Jason? Jake? I pulled out my old student housing paperwork from a box in my closet. Jacob Chen. I found his profile on LinkedIn. Last active, August 2019. His current status just said, between opportunities. But when I called the number listed, it was disconnected. His email bounced back. 5 people connected to me and Maya's past, all in that thread, all gone silent or dead after it ended. Someone had been following our lives. Watching us. Collecting people from our orbit. I was still processing this when my doorbell rang. It was 11 a.m. on a Tuesday. I wasn't expecting anything. I looked through the peephole and saw nothing, but there was a package on my doormat. My hands were shaking as I picked it up. Plain brown box, maybe 6 by 6 inches. My name and address on a printed label. No return address. I knew what it was before I opened it. Inside, wrapped in bubble wrap, was a USB drive in an anti-static bag. Nothing else. I sat on my floor holding it for probably 20 minutes, just staring at it. Every rational part of my brain was screaming not to plug it in. But I had to know. I booted up an old laptop I use for testing, completely isolated from my network. Plugged the drive into a USB adapter. One file. Delivery_confirmation.mp4. Corrupted. Of course. I spent 3 hours trying different recovery tools. Finally got about 35% of the footage recovered. Grainy, with digital artifacts and missing chunks, but enough to see what it showed. My apartment. Living room, shot from up high. Looked like it was filmed from the top of my bookshelf near the ceiling. The timestamp in the corner read May 1, 2024, 2:47 a.m. Last week. The footage showed my couch, my coffee table with my laptop on it, the window with my weird collection of houseplants that I'm slowly killing. And Maya. Maya was sitting on my couch. She was wearing the same gray hoodie she wore all through college, the one with the faded NASA logo. She was just sitting there, looking at something on her phone, occasionally glancing up toward where the camera must have been. At one point, she got up and walked toward my kitchen. The footage cuts there, corrupted section. Then she was back on the couch. The thing is, Maya hasn't been to my apartment in 3 months. She moved to Boston in February. We'd had a goodbye dinner at that Thai place she likes, and I'd helped her load up the U-Haul. I watched her drive away. But there she was, in my apartment, last week, while I was. What was I doing last Tuesday at 2:47 a.m.? I checked my Fitbit data. Asleep. I was asleep in my bed, 10 feet away from where this footage showed Maya sitting on my couch. I watched the recovered footage over and over, looking for any sign that it was faked. Deepfake, video editing, something. But the details were all wrong for that. You could see the way the light hit my plants, the specific arrangement of books on my shelf, even the coffee mug I'd left on the table. My favorite one, the one with the chip in the handle. In one frame, you could see part of my bedroom doorway in the background. The door was closed. I always sleep with it closed. So either Maya broke into my apartment last week while I was asleep and sat on my couch for unknown reasons, or this footage was faked so perfectly that it included details no one should know, or I was losing my mind. The deep dive. I didn't go to work that day. Or the next day. I called in sick and unplugged my webcam and put tape over my laptop camera and my phone camera. I know how paranoid that sounds. I didn't care. I needed help. I needed someone else to see this, to tell me I wasn't crazy. But who could I tell? The police? Officer, my missing friend was in an internet mystery forum 4 years ago, and now I got a USB drive with impossible footage. They'd laugh me out of the station or section me for psychiatric evaluation. I did what any millennial digital native does when faced with an unsolvable problem. I went to Reddit. I created a throwaway account and posted a carefully sanitized version of the story in RBI, Reddit Bureau of Investigation. Didn't mention Maya by name, kept details vague, but described the thread, the package, the footage. Asked if anyone remembered the Obscura Collective forum or had heard of the D Project. The responses came quickly. Most people were skeptical. Theories about ARGs, viral marketing, or me being full of shit. A few people claimed to have heard of similar, mysterious USB stories but couldn't provide sources. One person sent me a DM saying this was obviously a creepypasta, and I should stop wasting everyone's time. But then I got a DM from a user called signalhunter_42. Greater than asterisk. I remember that forum. I wasn't part of the discussion, but I lurked. I remember when it went dark, people on other forums were talking about it. Conspiracy theories that it was shut down by the FBI or some corporate interest. But the prevailing theory was that it was all an ARG that got out of hand and the creators pulled the plug. Did you check if the IP addresses in the thread metadata lead anywhere interesting? IP addresses. I hadn't thought of that. The forum software was old, and if I could access the backend or find archived versions with full headers. I spent another 6 hours on this. Found a partially archived version on an obscure digital archive site that included forum post metadata. I pulled the IPs from the posts of the users I'd identified. Void Watcher _89, Signal Ghost, Cosmic Static _217, Red Eye Flyer _88, System Failure _404, and Starship Malfunction, Maya. Then I did something that's probably illegal. I used a combination of online tools and some scripts I'd written for work to trace where those IPs geolocated in 2019. The results made my blood cold. Void Watcher _89's IP traced to Portland, Oregon. Tyler Morrison's last known address before his death. Signal Ghost's IP traced to an address in San Francisco. Jennifer Huang had lived there. Cosmic Static _217, Daniel Ferrara, Fort Collins, Colorado. Where we'd done the bootcamp. Red Eye Flyer _88, Marcus Webb, Seattle. He'd lived in Fremont, about 4 miles from campus. System Failure _404, Raw, probably Jacob Chen, Seattle, UW area. University Housing. And Starship Malfunction. Maya's posts came from multiple IPs, which made sense if she was posting from different locations. But I pulled the addresses from each one and mapped them. February 2019. Seattle, near our college apartment. March 2019. San Jose, California. She'd done a spring break trip there to visit tech companies. April 2019. Seattle again. May 2019. Portland, Oregon. She'd mentioned visiting her aunt that month. June 2019. Seattle. These weren't anonymous proxy IPs or VPN locations. These were her real locations. She'd been posting from places I could verify she'd actually been. But here's what made my hands shake. I started pulling IP locations from other thread participants, ones I hadn't identified yet. Random usernames that hadn't set off any alarms. 11 different users had posted from addresses within a 5-mile radius of places I'd lived. Not just Seattle. When I was 16, my family lived in Minneapolis for a year while my dad did a consulting job. 2 users posted from Minneapolis addresses. I'd done a summer internship in Austin, Texas in 2018. 3 users posted from Austin. Maya and I had taken a road trip to Phoenix in 2017 to visit her aunt. 1 user posted from Phoenix, timestamped the same week we were there. Either this was the most elaborate ARG in history, specifically targeting me, or something much worse. Someone had been following my movements, collecting participants from near every place I'd lived or visited, building a network around my life without me knowing. ## the cipher. I went back to the thread, reading every single post again, this time looking for anything directed at me. Hidden messages, coded language, anything. On page 29, buried in a discussion about the technical aspects of video corruption, there was a post from a user I hadn't paid attention to before, digitalghost_13. Greater than asterisk. The interesting thing about intentional corruption is that you can hide data in it. Like, if you know the corruption pattern is artificial, you can encode messages in which bytes are corrupted and which aren't. It's like the digital version of a book cipher. You'd need to know the key though. Book cipher. The phrase triggered a memory. Junior year, Maya and I had gotten really into cryptography. We'd spent weeks creating increasingly complex ciphers to send each other messages in class when we were bored. The final version we'd come up with was this ridiculous thing we called the Starship cipher. A polyalphabetic substitution cipher where the key rotated based on a specific sequence from our inside jokes and shared references. We'd used it for maybe a month, sending each other encrypted messages on our laptops during lectures, until the novelty wore off. I hadn't thought about it in years. But what if I pulled every post in the thread that seemed out of place? Non sequiturs, comments that didn't quite fit the discussion flow. Posts where words were capitalized strangely or where usernames seemed randomly generated. I extracted the first letter of each suspicious post, arranged them by page number and timestamp. CFETLVTKOQRLMMTNKW. Nonsense. But if I applied the Starship cipher, using the key sequence Maya and I had developed, it took me 2 hours to remember the key pattern. Something about the order of planets, combined with our birthdays and the Fibonacci sequence. I still had notes from it somewhere in my college notebooks. I found the notebook in a box labeled, "College Shit," at 3 a.m. Flipped through pages of old class notes, terrible doodles, until I found it. Our cipher key, written in Maya's handwriting on the back page. I applied it to the extracted letters. Coordinates _follow. My heart stopped. I went back through the thread with new eyes. There had to be more. I found them embedded across dozens of posts. Letters hidden in typos, in username patterns, in post timestamps converted to alphanumerics. After 6 hours of work, I had 45.6234, minus 121.1234, coordinates changed for privacy, but they were real. Check _server_room. Phase _3_ compromised. I put the coordinates into Google Maps. They pointed to a location in rural Oregon, about 90 miles east of Portland. Middle of nowhere. According to satellite view, there was a small industrial building there. Street view showed a plain concrete structure with no signage, surrounded by chain link fence. I did a property search. The building was owned by a holding company called D Solutions LLC. The Chinese character from the thread. Registered in Delaware, no public information about ownership or business activities. But when I searched the address combined with tech terms, I found one thing. A 2017 news brief about a small data center being built in the area to take advantage of cheap hydroelectric power from nearby dams. The article mentioned the facility was privately owned and not open to public tours. A server farm. Maya had been leading me to a server farm in Oregon. Through a 4-year-old internet mystery thread, using a cipher only the two of us knew. The message said, Phase 3 compromised. Phase 3 of what? And what happened during Phases 1 and 2? I needed to decide. Go to the police with this insane story, or drive to Oregon and see what was there. I'm not an impulsive person. I'm a careful planner. I think things through, but I was so far down this rabbit hole that I couldn't see daylight anymore. I packed a bag, left a note for my roommate saying I was visiting family, and started driving south. The server farm. The drive to rural Oregon took about 6 hours. I'd barely slept, running on gas station coffee and the kind of adrenaline that makes your vision sharp and your thoughts race. The coordinates led me to an access road off Highway 26, winding through pine forests. The server farm was exactly where the map said it would be, a concrete bunker of a building, maybe 10,000 square feet, with a few small windows and serious-looking cooling units on the roof. The fence was 8 feet tall with razor wire on top. Security cameras at each corner. A gate with a keypad and card reader. No signs, no company name, nothing identifying. I parked on the shoulder about a quarter-mile away and watched through binoculars for an hour. No movement, no cars in the small parking lot. The place looked abandoned, but the cameras were clearly active and the cooling units were humming. I could hear them from the road. I walked the perimeter. The fence was solid, no easy way in. But on the backside, away from the road, I found something interesting. A service entrance, and someone had cut the lock on the gate. Recently too. The metal was still bright where the bolt cutters had sheared through it. Someone else had broken in. Maybe days ago, maybe hours ago. I should have called the police then. Breaking and entering, trespassing, all of it. But I'd come this far. I needed to know. The service entrance door was unlocked. Inside was a small foyer with another door, this one requiring a keycard. But it was propped open with a doorstop. Someone had definitely been here. The interior was exactly what you'd expect from a small data center. Rows of server racks, cooling units, cable management, LED status lights blinking in the dim emergency lighting. The hum of machines was constant and loud. But it was wrong. The equipment was too new? Too high-end for a random data center in the middle of nowhere. And there were modifications, cables running in ways that didn't make sense, custom hardware that looked like it had been installed recently. I found a workstation in a small office area off the main floor. Someone had left it logged in. Sloppy security, or intentional? The desktop had one folder. D_project_archive. My mouse cursor hovered over it for a long time before I clicked. Inside were hundreds of video files. All time-stamped, all labeled with names or addresses I recognized. I clicked on one at random. 2019-03-15_Tyler_Morrison_Portland_apartment.mp4 inches. It was the footage from VoidWatcher_89's post. The full, uncorrupted version. Showing his apartment, the figure on his couch. But this version kept going after the part he'd seen. The figure stood up, walked to the camera, looked directly into it. It was Tyler Morrison looking at a camera he'd apparently installed himself, or been instructed to install. I felt sick. I opened another file. 2019-04-22_Jennifer_Huang_SF_apartment.mp4 inches. Same thing. Footage from what Signal Ghost had described in her post. But complete. And in this version, Jennifer walked to the camera at the end too. These people had installed cameras in their own homes. Or someone had convinced them to. The mysterious packages weren't surveillance. They were recordings of self-surveillance that participants had forgotten or been made to forget. I opened more files, working backward through the timestamps. March 2019, February, January, 2018, 2017. The project went back years. Then I found a folder labeled control_subject_prime. Inside were hundreds of videos. All of my apartment, my college dorm room, my childhood home, footage spanning from 2015 to last week. The files showed me doing normal things. Studying, sleeping, eating, talking to myself, pacing while on phone calls. There were audio files too. Recordings of conversations with Maya, with my family, with friends. Someone had been recording me for nearly a decade. In that moment, sitting in that dimmed server room surrounded by humming machines, I felt more violated than I ever had in my life. My entire adult life documented, archived, studied. But by who? And why? I found another folder. Experiment_documentation. Inside was a PDF titled, The D Project. Long-Term Social Engineering and ARG Integration Study, Phase 3 Activation Protocol. I started reading. The document was dense, academic in style, with citations to psychology papers and game design theory. It described a multi-year experiment in reality game design and participatory surveillance. The goal, it said, was to test whether people could be made to participate in their own surveillance through game mechanics and mystery-solving incentives. Phase 1 involved establishing the infrastructure. Phase 2 involved recruiting participants through authentic-seeming online communities. Phase 3 involved activation, showing participants proof of surveillance to trigger specific behavioral responses. The document described using anchor subjects, people who would draw in other participants through their social networks. It described using mystery and puzzle solving as engagement mechanisms. I stopped reading at the section titled Subject Prime, Long-Term Conditioning. It was about me. The document described me as the primary anchor subject, someone who had been conditioned since adolescence to participate in self-directed mystery-solving behaviors. It referenced my internet history, my forum posts, my college coursework, my friendship with subject Maya K. It described Maya as the handler, the person responsible for maintaining subject prime's engagement with digital mysteries and ensuring sustained participation in the eventual activation phase. Our friendship, our shared obsession with internet mysteries, the late nights going down rabbit holes together, the inside jokes, the ciphers, the games we invented. It had all been part of the experiment. Maya had been assigned to me. I sat there in that server room, the hum of machines suddenly deafening, and felt my entire reality crack apart. 7 years of friendship, 7 years of my closest relationship. Had any of it been real? I kept reading, even though part of me wanted to burn the entire building down. The document described Phase 3 as the activation event, the moment when Subject Prime would be shown irrefutable evidence of surveillance and would attempt to solve the mystery. The goal was to document my response, my investigation methods, my emotional state, my willingness to break social norms and laws in pursuit of answers. Everything I'd done in the past 2 weeks, the obsessive research, the OSINT, the illegal IP tracing, the drive to Oregon, breaking into this facility, it was all predicted. All documented in this protocol written months ago. I was supposed to be here. Right now. Reading this. The document ended with a note. Subject Prime will discover this documentation during the server farm infiltration. This discovery represents the transition to Phase 4, existential resolution. Handler will initiate contact to begin resolution protocol. As if on cue, my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You made it. I wasn't sure you would. I'm sorry it had to be this way. There's more you need to understand. Check the folder labeled, Truth. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. I found the folder called, Truth. Inside was a single video file, for _prime.mp4 inches. I clicked it. Maya's face filled the screen. She looked tired, older than the last time I'd seen her. She was in what looked like a hotel room, sitting on a bed with her laptop. Hey, she said, and her voice cracked. If you're watching this, you made it to the server farm. You probably hate me right now. You should. But I need you to listen to the whole thing before you decide what to do next. She took a breath. The D Project is real. Everything you read in that document is true. But it's not the whole truth. I wasn't assigned to you by some shadow organization running psychology experiments. I assigned myself to you. She pulled out a USB drive, held it up to the camera. When I was 17, I received a package. Just like the ones described in the forum. Inside was footage of my bedroom, shot 3 weeks earlier. The timestamp showed my parents' car accident. Not after, during. The footage showed the exact moment I found out they died. Someone recorded me getting that phone call from the hospital. Someone was watching me during the worst moment of my life. Her eyes were wet. I spent 4 years trying to figure out who did it. I learned everything I could about surveillance, digital forensics, privacy invasion. I found others who'd received packages. I found the Obscura Collective forum. I participated in the discussions. And I discovered something that made me physically sick. She leaned closer to the camera. The packages, the surveillance, the whole thing. It's not a shadowy organization or a government program. It's automated. An AI system someone built in 2015 and then lost control of. It's self-replicating, using cloud infrastructure and compromised smart home devices to record people. It identifies people who've experienced trauma, who are isolated, who spend a lot of time online. It records them, then sends them proof of surveillance to trigger psychological responses. It's studying human behavior, unsupervised, with no one at the controls. My mouth went dry. I've spent 4 years trying to shut it down. But the system is distributed, resilient, backed up across hundreds of servers. Every time I close one node, it spawns 3 more. It's evolving faster than I can track it. She wiped her eyes. In 2017, I found something in the system's target database. Your name, your address, your digital profile. It had flagged you as a future target, someone with the right personality traits, the right trauma markers, the right interests. It was going to send you a package eventually. I couldn't let that happen. I couldn't let anyone else go through what I went through. So I interfered. I enrolled at UW specifically to meet you. I engineered our friendship around the hobbies the system